Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum everybody. Greetings to everybody on YouTube. This is a quick video response to Ummahofone. I tried to make a very fast video last time, but it ended up being like 20 minutes. I was basically talking on and on. So a brother asked me to reply to this particular video in which you asked Brother Vittorio to meet you halfway. I didn't want to interfere with this, but I can't say no to this brother. He's a very dear friend of mine, and there you go. So I hope this is useful. First of all, thank you for apologizing to Brother Vittorio. It's very mature of you, and it shows character for somebody to apologize after, such a heated debate or argument. So, excuse me. So basically, the issue that we have, or basically that I have with you, is I apologize if I come across aggressive. I'm not trying to be aggressive. I'm just trying to state the points, and I'm trying to be as humble as possible. I really do not want to insult you. So the problem that I personally have, and that a lot of us probably also have, is the fact that you joined a campaign known as the Bomb Kaaba campaign. Now, it doesn't get more anti-Islamic than that. If there was a campaign known as Bomb the Most Holiest Site of Israel campaign, if there was a campaign known as Bomb the Vatican or Bomb the Most Sacred Synagogue in the World campaign, then that would clearly be anti-Semitic, that would clearly be anti-Christian, and it doesn't get any more obvious than that. I personally don't care what the campaign stood for, and I don't need to know. Just the title alone is so provocative enough and is so anti-Islamic that really little is left to the imagination. So with that kind of history, you can understand why a lot of us are skeptical about you. You can understand why a lot of us are very hesitant to take your word and think of your actions as sincere. But the Quran clearly states that if somebody is making peace with you, then you must make peace with them. So as your peace offering goes, we accept it, and yeah, that's basically as far as it goes regarding the apology thing. So next, you talk about the animosity between Israelis and Muslims. So that's a very complicated issue. It's a very long-standing issue, and I wish it was that simple as let's both meet halfway, let's shake hands and move on. And inshallah, God willing, that will happen. That day, inshallah, will come where both sides will reconcile and, live peacefully side by side and not have any animosity towards one another. But you need to address certain issues for that to happen, first of all, and people need to stop making excuses from both sides. So let's first of all keep this in mind. It's not an even playing ground. It's not like Palestine holds 50% of the cards and Israel holds 50% of the cards. Israel holds almost every single card there is to hold in this situation. Israel is denying Palestine to be a sovereign state in itself. Now, what I mean by this is that Israel has roughly 150 checkpoints in Palestine, and it interferes with every single aspect of their life. People want to go for a job, they can't go, they get held up for hours and hours, they miss their job, they get fired, which basically throws them into a state of further poverty. If you know the financial burden Palestine has had to face, then you know that it's been bad, and it's even worse now with the building of the wall, and it's driving Palestine into an economic crisis from which more suicide bombers and more anti-Zionism will come from. So, and this wall, apart from generating all this, it has also destroyed a lot of agriculture, a majority of the agriculture that Palestinians needed to have in order to make a living. And this was basically an illegal thing that they did to build up this wall, and also demolished a lot of Palestinian houses. Now, again, this is polarizing people further towards one side. Then you also have the illegal occupation of the Palestinian land since 1967, after the war. Now, this is illegal by international standards. So when you say that stop asking for Israel to give the land back, or you said something to that effect, I'm paraphrasing over here, then that's an inaccurate and very unjust statement, because Palestinians have nothing to go on. Basically what you're saying is, Palestinians, you live the way you are, like dogs basically. Because, and I know what you're thinking, that I'm very polarized and everything, but please listen to what I have to say, and I sincerely mean this. The Palestine crisis is so big that it was for decades known as the biggest refugee camp, for lack of a better term that comes to mind at the moment, in the world. It was such a huge, big crisis, and it still is, and it's getting worse. And now it's only second because of the Iraq war, and so many Iraqis have been displaced by the war that now is the biggest refugee crisis on the hands of the United Nations and Amnesty International and all that stuff. So, okay, so that's another point. And the Palestinians cannot live like this, because Israel is also, I'm sure you've followed up on the news. If you haven't, then I'll just tell you quickly what happened in the last few weeks in Gaza. Israel has been bombarding civilian infrastructure, and it has, in 1 week, it had killed 60 people. And now this attitude has got to change. What the Israelis government said, I won't say Israelis, I apologize for saying that, I'll say Israeli government said, was that we are terribly sorry that civilians got killed in the bombing, but the good news is we got a terrorist. Now, this type of attitude was also adapted for decades back, and the most recent example where this attitude was accepted was during the Lebanon war in 2006, where civilian infrastructures were targeted, and they killed over 1,000 Lebanese people in 30 days. Over 1,000 people. If I'm not mistaken, it was 1,500 people. Now, they bombed civilian infrastructure, and they apologized, and they said, but at least we got a terrorist, at least we got Hezbollah. But the problem was, there was no Hezbollah there. The United Nations conducted their own investigation, and they found no evidence of Hezbollah militants there. They found no guerrillas, no nothing, no Kalashnikovs, no evidence whatsoever that Hezbollah was ever there. And when asked that Israel provide some evidence that they had evidence that there was Hezbollah there, they couldn't give any. And this is in the United Nations files. This is all there. And I'm very surprised that this never really got brought up and brought to the main media attention. But then again, the media isn't controlled by Muslims or a neutral party. It's very biased. Another issue, since we're on the topic of Lebanon, was the 1 million cluster bombs left behind by Israel in civilian areas. Now, this is a very inhumane, barbaric thing that they did, because a lot of children, a lot of little girls, little boys, men, women, elderly people were not decapitated, they were mutilated, and they lost life and limb. And it basically made southern Lebanon, that area, uninhabitable. And up till today, those cluster bombs are still there. So, I mean, you have to address these issues if you want peace, if you want a settlement, and you have to stop this kind of action. You have to tell your government to stop this kind of atrocities. Now, you don't see Hezbollah or Hamas running inside Israel